Great. Hello, welcome everyone. I'm going to call us to order, and to get started, Jodine, have you taken attendance?
Yes.
All right, great. So we have a vote for closed session for opinion of legal counsel and discussion of real estate, and this is a roll call vote. Oh wait, nope, motion. Sorry, brain. Can I get a motion to move to closed session?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, now we have a roll call vote.
Trustee Campbell?
Yes.
Trustee Kleinman?
Yes.
Trustee Solomon?
Yes.
Trustee Soba?
Yes.
Trustee Trudeau?
Yes.
All right, we're going to recess to closed session. We'll be back at 7.
It's funny how you can pick up on things like that.
I know.
Just after the years.
Yeah. We are going to reconvene from closed session. Jodine, have you taken attendance?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Next up, we need approval of the agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved. Second.
All right, all those in favor of approving the agenda, please say yes.
Yes.
All those opposed? Agenda is approved. And now we need to approve the consent agenda, I think. Yes?
Yes.
Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved?
Second.
All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please say yes.
Yes.
Yes. All those opposed? All right, next up we have public comments. And now we've got like a little preamble for public comments. Public comment is an opportunity for members of the public to speak before the board. Topics must be related to Ann Arbor District Library Board of Trustees or matters within their authority. To speak during the allotted time on the agenda for public comment, please fill out a public comment form with the executive assistant before the allotted time. Participants may only speak once per meeting, and each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. You can also reach the board by emailing boardcomments@aadl.org. The AADL public comment policy can be found at aadl.org/public comment. Jodine, do we have any public comments? No. All right. Then we will move along to communications from trustees. All trustees have an opportunity to speak to the public. Anyone have any comments tonight? All right, thanks everyone. Now we have the financial report with Eli.
Okay, so we got 3 months worth of financial statements in here. We're going to look briefly at the June 30th, the June financials, which represent the end of the last fiscal year. So if you turn in your packet to the page marked 48, before that, to the page marked 40. Those are the financials from June. And I just want to point out one thing at the bottom of page 40. These are our preliminary draft financials pending completion of the audit. Once the audit has been completed, we will have final financials for the past fiscal year. But our preliminary draft financials show that we ended the year with a $2.7 million surplus. Once we find out exactly what that is pending the audit, we will be bringing to the board a request to transfer last year's surplus into the capital fund. You can also see on page 41 at the bottom of that page that the capital fund currently stands at about $2.3 million. So if we transfer that 2.7 in, that'll bring the capital fund balance up to about $5 million. So once we have the audit complete, the audit meeting with the finance committee is scheduled. We are expecting to receive the audit from our new auditors at the October meeting. So once that's done, we will probably bring at the November meeting a request to transfer last year's surplus into the capital fund. Any questions about that? All right, so now skipping ahead over the July financials to the August financials, which begin on page 48. So far we've received about $11 million of tax money. That's 47% of budget as of the end of August. That's pretty normal for this time of year. Our unrestricted fund balance, about $9 million. That will go down. That includes the $2.7 million surplus from last year. So that will decrease actually after the transfer is made. So we have received, our revenues are 16.7% of budget after 16.6% of the fiscal year. That's with the accrual. So that is running a little bit ahead, which is what we'd like to see. Year-to-date expenditures, about 14.7% of budget after 16.6% of the fiscal year, running a little bit under, which is what we like to see. If you turn to page 52, that shows for the 2 months ended August 31st, the statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes. So again, it's 16.8% through the fiscal year. Looking down the columns, we're running right on it with employment costs. It's good. Accounting and audit, of course, at 44% because the audit happens at the beginning of the year. That's to be expected. Other lines that are a little bit over, custodial services is a little bit over. We'll be looking at that. Other operating expenditures are operating supplies, just a tiny bit over. Software licenses and maintenance, a tiny bit over. And then we have utilities is just a little bit over, but it was a hot end of the summer, so that's not terribly surprising. But all told, that shows us at 14.75% of the expenditures after 16.7% of fiscal year. So off to a good start. Any questions about any of that? All right, that's it for me.
All right, thanks, Eli. Next up, we have committee reports. First is the executive committee from me. We did meet this month, and we spoke mostly about next steps for the downtown library project. And in fact, there is now an information page with a public page at aadl.org/new downtown,
That's right.
where you can start to follow along with the process of the new building, which is mostly right now just figuring out what all the steps are and who we need for all of those steps. We also talked about some other things that are going to be on the agenda tonight, so I will not spoil them. And that's it for executive committee. Finance committee didn't meet, is that right? Or you did?
Correct, we didn't meet, however, we did set the meeting for the audit presentation to occur before the October board meeting.
Great. And facilities committee with Scott.
Yeah, we talked about some things that are also on the agenda, so I will skip over those. We'll be talking about the downtown repairs, and what else is on the generator for Westgate, and work at the ALF was moving along around getting the parking lot and building civil engineering work figured out, moving the parking lot. That sort of, we talked about like that process which is still ongoing, which I'm sure we'll see on a future agenda going forward. But that was pretty much it. Everything else I will leave for the rest of the agenda.
Great, thanks, Scott. Next up, we have the library report with Eli.
All right, if you can bring my slides up on the screen here. Here's the monthly report for September of 2025. We're going to start off with the stat of the month, just in case you didn't see Summer Game Wrapped, which hit our Facebook and our Instagram today. So Summer Game 2025 was huge, 17,416 players. That's up 18% over 2024. So it just continues to grow quite out of control, I think it's safe to say, but it's a great problem to have. So over 583 million points were earned. That's almost 200 million more than the previous year. That's almost doubling the prior year's amount of points earned. A lot of that is yard signs and the explosion of yard signs, the explosion of yard sign engagement. But it's just great to see the engagement. The points is really a measurement of engagement, as is the badges and the codes. So it's great to see that growing even faster than participation is growing. Similarly, almost 500,000 badges were earned. That's up 26% over the previous year. And 4.26 million codes were redeemed. That's up 50% over the prior year. And when you consider that there's 17,000 players and they entered 4.2 million codes, that shows just how deep the engagement is, how much each person is playing. Just a ridiculous amount of engagement. There were 3,559 lawn and library codes this year. That is up 65% over the prior year. So this is really just blowing up, and we've had a number of small changes to make for that. And this was great. The marketing team did some analysis there. 241 cat-related codes, 216 dog-related codes, 118 book-related codes, and 47 tree-related codes. So we love to see that with all of the codes that are out there in the community. And then here are some of the most redeemed codes. Ride and True was the code on the outside of the bus. What's Cooking was the code on the outside of Westgate. Game On was the code on the outside of the downtown library. So those were our top 3 codes. And then our top 3 badges were Spot the Ride, which is the code you get for entering Ride and True. Finding Eli's 7,318 people found me over the course of the summer. And Log Jammer. Log Jammer is great to see in the top 3 because that means people who were logging their reading at that point during the summer. So it's great to see very high engagement with that badge, considering all the other things there are to do with the summer game. And then just as a note, we we see a lot of summer game t-shirts all around the community and around the US. This year alone, we distributed 9,183 new AADL t-shirts to the community through the summer game. There were a total of 13,794 orders for the summer game shop. So we are really spreading the merch around, and it's great to see so many shirts out in the community almost everywhere you go. All right. Upcoming events. October 11th, we've got A2CAF Small and Indie Press. Our special guests are Carolyn Cash. Carolyn Cash was just selected as the new artist of Nancy. So she's got some really great work, and she is the designer of the poster for this year. Lisa Hannawalt, one of the designers for BoJack Horseman and Tuca and Birdie. And if you haven't seen her and Raphael Bob Waxberg's new show on Netflix, it's called Long Story Short, especially for my mishpocha in the house. That is an outstanding show, and Lisa Hannawalt did all the character designs for that show. It's terrific. Also, Julia Wirtz has been around comics for a very long time, so I'm super excited to see all of them at A2CAF Small and Indie Press on October 11th. That is also the same day of the Friends of AADL's book sale is on October 11th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., so you can make that whole day. Then the next day, October 12th, a new event, Dead Media Day. So this is going to have a lot of cool exhibits and vendors. This room will be filled with vintage video game cabinets that have been brought in for an open play event. We'll be having someone, weather permitting, taking tin-type photographs outside. All kinds of very interesting and unique. There's going to be a 16mm film festival down in the basement. All kinds of great stuff going on for Dead Media Day. We don't anticipate that will necessarily be an annual event. It might be like a every other year event, something like that. So we will be looking at that and see how it goes, but we're excited for that one. Then on October 26th, we've got our Halloween costume contest and the Main Street Trick or Treat Parade. Those things are happening together. We worked with Main Street Ann Arbor to change which streets closed to make it a lot safer for the parade to get over there. That was an issue last year. We're glad to say that this year, 5th and Liberty will be closed, so we'll be able to go up 5th and over Liberty to where the streets are closed. With those streets being completely closed, it'll be a lot safer for everyone. And then on October 31st, of course, our Halloween preschool show with 2 shows on that day are we still doing 2 shows? Yeah, I think so. Okay, still 2 shows for Halloween, and that is coming up on Halloween itself. And Sherlani and I have a team costume planned, which I hope will come together. Nobody's going to know who we are because it's from this obscure cartoon, but it's really great. So I'm excited about that. All right. AADL in the community. AADL was a sponsor of the first ever Main Street Ann Arbor street art encounter during A2 Fall Streets. 15 artists each had just 8 hours to bring their visions to life on freestanding walls. Visitors watched the murals come to life in real time, asked questions, and even added their own creative touches on a community canvas. So part of our sponsorship was we gave out the AADL Awesome Art Award, and our choice was to Devon Kidd Collins of Saginaw for his work here, which is his Dune-inspired Afrofuturist portrait that he painted there at the day. So it was a very cool event. We're happy to always contribute and keep Main Street Ann Arbor's new projects going, and this was a great thing for them to try. Something that had started in Saginaw, if I recall correctly, and then it was something that they partnered with that same people who had produced in Saginaw to make it happen here. So thanks to Main Street Ann Arbor. So I was a special guest of the Gangdong-gu government in Seoul. I had a whirlwind visit to South Korea earlier in the month. I departed on August 26th. I got back on September 12th. There was about a little over a week in partnership with the Gangdong-gu Libraries, and then I took some vacation while I was over there. Eli was a guest at the opening ceremonies for the new Central Library, the Gangdong-gu Central Library, and toured a number of other libraries in Gangdong-gu, including I got to read Chico Choose a Tale to kids at the Gangdong-gu Central Library. I have a few other photos here to share. Here's our display of AADL books inside the new library, and they made a very nice display. In the libraries in Seoul, when a book is on display, you can't check it out until the display is done. So these books will be there for everyone to look at, and then once the display comes down, they'll go into circulation and get barcoded. I was asked to give a welcoming, congratulatory speech at the opening of the new library. You can see a photo of the new library there in the background. That's a transcript of part of my speech. What was very interesting about this new library, it's roughly the size of this building. It's about the same, around 120,000 square feet. The building was provided to the municipality by the housing project that it's a part of. They built the building and said, here, you can have this, make a library out of it. So it's kind of similar in that it's joint housing and library. The difference being the housing development was 85 buildings and 12,000 new housing units. So it's on a little different scale than what we have here in Ann Arbor, but it was a very interesting set of choices for them to have to develop because basically the building was already built and designed and they had to make a library out of it. So there's a number of choices to kind of go with compromise there, making it work inside the existing envelope. But the person who spoke after me was the CEO of the IKEA in Gangdong because IKEA donated most of the furniture that is used in the library. So he was from Sweden and his name was Magnus, of course. Here's the ribbon cutting. They had so many dignitaries, they actually cut the ribbon twice. You can see me toward the right end there. The guy next to me in the blue shirt is Magnus. He was wearing his IKEA uniform. So we cut the ribbon twice. I got to participate both times in the ribbon cutting. Here's a couple photos from inside the Gangdong-gu Central Library. They have a very long table in the reading room. It's a really cool space. Over on the right, that's the cafe space. There's a piano in there. The cafe is operated by a business. There's a whole robust infrastructure for government leasing access for businesses to sell. Like all of the train stations are filled with tiny businesses. There are like pedestrian crossings that go under the street that are all filled with tiny businesses. So there's this whole mechanism of government leasing space to business that doesn't really have an analog in the US. So it's very interesting the way that all comes together and works over there. This is a photo of another library. This is called the Forest Library, which is right next to a forest park. They had a large donation from a scientist who donated a bunch of works. And so most of those books are not available for circulation, but you can look at them there. And then on the right is a robot that will lead you to the shelf, and it almost works. So that's just a few quick photos from my trip to Korea. We're going to have an event in January because, as you know, I think we've talked about this before, 2 more of our staff are going to participate in the Amsadong Prehistoric Site Festival, which is in like 3 weeks. And they're going to table there like we would at any event here in Ann Arbor. There's a lot of interest in the U.S. and in U.S. libraries. And so a couple of our staff, Aaron Helmrich and Allison Jones, are going to go over there in just a couple weeks and table at that festival and see many of the same libraries that I saw. And when they get back in the new year, we're going to have like an event where we can share our photos, talk about what we've learned, and share that with the community for people who are interested in learning more about what we learned in Seoul. All right, so AADL editions. At the Game Over Gala, we unveiled our first ever mascot, Akako Jishins, at the Game Over Gala in August. Akako Jishins is the Ojibwe word for little groundhog. So that's the wordplay that makes the character's name. Designed alongside artist Jason Driscoll, Kill Taupe is what he does business under, pictured here with Akako Jishins. They will appear at select AADL festivals and expos, as well as other events like the Halloween costume contest, Halloween shows, and other pop-up appearances. Plus, of course, now we have to do Groundhog Day events going forward because Akako Jishins is a groundhog, and boy, do they cast a shadow. So it's something that we will look forward to doing, and a lot of excitement. We've had a lot of great positive response from the community about this, and their next appearance will be at the Halloween costume contest coming up in just a few weeks.
And there are stickers.
Yes, there are stickers. We'll make sure that there are some very rare stickers. We'll make sure that you all get stickers.
They're really
and
cute.
Maybe we will be able to get an Akako Jishin's appearance at a board meeting at some point in the future. But we'll have to see. We have to figure out who will go in the suit. All right, our staff spotlight this month is Vanessa Kerfoot. She is book pro. She's been at AADL for 9 years, started as a part-time book pro in 2016 and became a full-time book pro in 2021. And she says, I love gaming and drawing. I'm currently playing both The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, and Tears of the Kingdom. Combined playtime is roughly 230 hours and counting. Though I have much to learn to improve my art skills, I think it would be amazing to create some artwork inspired by both of these games. Vanessa does a great job, much beloved by many staff across the organization, is also one of the co-presidents of the Staff Associates Union at this point, and we enjoy working with her. So thank you to Vanessa. All right, our mention of the month from Ethan Hess won an award for most hilarious cosplay and a number of various Ava-related hashtags that go with that. So that was from the Anime Arbor event, which was a big hit. Immediately, I think, took like the number 3 spot for expos this year. It was bigger than the first day of A2CAF, smaller than Tiny Expo, but we had like 4,300 people in the building that day. So that was a very successful first event. All right, here's our compliment of the month. I'm writing to tell you how amazing AADL is. My 14-year-old was downtown wearing a mask that they had made when the nose fell off. They went to the library and asked if they had any glue they could use to fix it. Staff was wonderful as usual, and my kiddo was on their fashionable way. This may not seem like a big deal to all, but I realize that it is. My 14-year-old has grown up going to all of the AADL libraries, and it feels like it's a safe place to go when you need help. Whether that help comes in the form of checking out a book when you can't afford to buy it, learning how to knit, linoleum cut printing, or need an emergency wardrobe fix. Anyway, I just wanted to thank you all for being amazing, and that came in through a Facebook DM on August 5th. Here's our complaint of the month. I don't think it's okay that you can't read MLive articles here, but very strangely, you can rent power tools. Is this a real library? So I responded to this email. You can't actually rent power tools. We don't offer any power tools, and of course, we don't rent anything. You can borrow things, but power tools are not among the collection. However, while we do not offer a subscription to MLive where you can log into MLive, we do, through our partnership with Newsbank, offer same-day access, full-text access, to all the articles that MLive publishes online. It's clunky because that's the way the library subscription database business works. But it's there, and it's there every day. And I took the opportunity to reiterate this to staff after this comment came in, just to make sure that staff knew when someone comes up to the desk. Because if they're asking for, I want an MLive login, we can't help them there. If they want to read the articles that were in MLive that day, we absolutely can help them with that for the Ann Arbor edition, including the images of the print paper that still exists. So it is something that we do have. But if MLive offered a subscription, like Wall Street Journal or New York Times did, we would certainly subscribe to that. But they don't, so this is what we have. All right, and proposals A and B passed in August. Congratulations, and thank you to everyone involved. This was our favorite of all of the submissions to the Dream Library Contest, and we'll be talking a lot more about that at every board meeting for the next 7 to 8 years. So thank you all to everyone who participated and helped to make that happen. And that's my report. Any questions? All right, thank you very much.
Thanks, Eli. Next up, moving on to old business, we have a resolution to approve the standby generator for Westgate Library Branch. I'm going to read the resolution, take motions for the resolution, and then we'll have discussion. So, the board resolves, 1, to approve $382,144 to O'Neill Construction, Inc. for a standby generator for the Westgate Branch Library. 2, that the expenditure be authorized from the capital fund. 3, that all resolutions and parts of resolutions that conflict with the provisions of this resolution are rescinded. Can I get a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Now discussion. Len?
Yes. So if you remember when we did the generator project for all the branches, Westgate was included in that. We were a little over budget. Westgate was the one that came out because we didn't own the building. It's been such a service to the community when the west side of town is without power.
Yeah.
It's a big deal. And if anyone's without power, Westgate does have power, it is packed. And so this just continues with what we're doing with the other branches. There's a need there. We see that every time there is an outage, Westgate is the busiest place. We don't plan on moving. It makes a lot of sense, and we can stay open if there is just a disruption and folks aren't without power. We will have it just like every other location.
We did have, since the generator project, the first real outage that lasted a while that infected Westgate. Mm-hmm. And it really, we were getting a lot of calls about it because people were looking, that was where they wanted to go.
Yeah, it came up that, why don't we have one at Westgate? So here we are.
Yeah.
I remember the discussion when we were removing Westgate was that side of town never had outages.
I know, right? Yeah.
And so that was part of why it felt okay, and we didn't own it. And so, of course, then there was the big outage on that side of town.
Well, the cost is, it's in line with the others. We VE'd Westgate because it's also the easiest to do. As far as infrastructure, putting this in, it's actually the easiest building to do. So,
Isn't there a transfer switch there already?
there is a transfer switch.
Yeah.
This does include a new transfer switch, because what we learned is why this process has taken so long. So when you size, especially when it's emergency backup power, it's not about the consumption you use in the building, it's about the feed from DTE. What is that capacity? So we had to meter the building to make sure, so it'll be our space plus the Sweetwater space. So the unit's a little bit bigger. So we did include a new transfer switch to make sure it could take this increased sizing, because when we built out Westgate in 2016, I don't think it was sized for this size unit. This is the biggest generator out of all of them, and it is because of the load going in from DTE.
I will say in terms of constituent sort of outreach, the three things that I hear about are books, programming, and our generators. Because in moments of crisis, right, the library has been an institution that has fully responded to a need, both proactively and reactively. And so I think that this is going to make a lot of people really happy. So I'm really excited to see this.
The other thing is, while we don't own the building,
We own the generator.
we'll own the generator.
Yes.
So when if
Yes.
we move, which we have no intention of doing, we
Yes.
can take it with us.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, that was my question, like in the rare event that we were to no longer occupy the space, we could take it with us.
Yep.
Or
Or
make
sell
an
it.
offer to sell it back to the
Yeah.
Yep.
landlord. Okay.
Scott might want it, we don't know.
Yeah.
I will say, the lead time on the generator this size is around 12 months. So committing to this, if you choose to, we would probably commit to the unit, still go to bid like we always would, come back to you all with another resolution to award the actual work of the install. But the sooner we commit to purchasing the unit, that just guarantees we can actually have it, say, this time next year.
And just one thing that I've mentioned when we purchase our other generators is that we do generally obtain the conversion kits.
Yeah.
So that we can convert them to LP in the event of an extended outage during which the gas grid is no longer available. We include that in our contingency planning to be able to, because in that sort of situation, we would be like a resilience hub for the community, and we would be high on the list of getting LP delivered on a truck to be able to keep the generator running.
And what is LP?
I'm sorry,
Liquid
liquefied liquefied propane gas. So like the, being able to be powered by the big
Tanks.
round tank. Yeah, in the event of the gas grid, the methane grid not working.
And as a reminder, when we were doing the generator project the first time, Len did a ton of research on battery backup options. And the technology was not there and is still not there for us to do battery backup at the level that we would need.
Yeah, it would keep us open for hours, not days.
Yeah.
And particularly because the profile of the average DTE outage. You know, if the average DTE outage was 2 or 3 hours, then that would be a completely different. But we know that the average DTE outage, especially in Ann Arbor, is 3-4 days, right? So that really is beyond the range any battery can handle.
I'm stoked.
Yeah.
All right. All those in favor of this resolution, please say yes.
Yes.
All those opposed? All right. Thanks, Len.
Welcome.
Thanks, Lon.
Are you staying because you're on the next
Yes.
one too? Okay. I haven't turned the page yet. Here we go. Oh, yes. Resolution to authorize repairs for the exterior and structural system of the downtown library. I will read this resolution. The board resolves, 1, to award Davenport Masonry the contract for repairs of the downtown library building's exterior and structural system in the amount of $99,000. 2, that the expenditure be authorized from the capital fund. 3, that all resolutions and parts of resolutions that conflict with the provisions of this resolution are rescinded. Can I get a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Len.
Okay, so we went public with this. We solicited 10 contractors. We had 2 responses. O'Neill did vet both responses, and very like companies, both could have done the work. We chose the low bid.
Great. Questions?
Can you just say a little bit briefly about
What it's gonna look like? We're looking at about a 4-week construction schedule. If weather's perfect, and there are no weather days, it could be 2.5 to 3 weeks. So there's like a week built in there, for a little bit of fluff in the schedule. But it's really looks like lifts around the building. Most of the work is for the anchoring, and then the mesh is just a mesh. So a lot of it's gonna be drilling for anchors, and then you really just roll out the mesh. So it's not, there'll be a couple sidewalk closures. It won't be the whole building at once. We'll work on one side at a time. But it's not that in-depth, other than having to be up on lifts and anchoring that restraint to the wall. And it's pretty big. I mean, it's gonna be noticeable. You'll see it, so.
Yeah, and this is not a permanent repair, this is
No.
not an aesthetic repair, this is a keep the building safe and operating and.
Yes, this
yeah.
is if, we saw this last year, if we come out of a winter and we're seeing some deflection, this will protect anyone below it.
Other questions?
And will this last for how long?
Oh, all of 10 years.
Okay.
I mean, we would notice
So
what you would start to see.
This will get us through.
Yes,
Yeah.
what you would start to see, and you'd see some deterioration on probably, from UV or even weather, you'd start to see that restraint you'd see it weather.
Sure.
So we would know far in advance, like, hey, the bright side is, even if it didn't, the anchoring's there. And you'd pull down that section of meshing and you'd put another section back up. So once the anchoring's there, and that really is most of the work.
We should be able to do repairs to this repair.
Yes,
Within
yes.
our normal repairs budget.
Yeah.
Okay.
If it's necessary going
Yeah.
forward.
That's great news. I just want to spend the least amount of money
Yes,
that we can
we all
possibly
do.
spend
Yeah.
to just make sure things are not falling on people's heads
Yep.
until we can continue on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
That's our goal.
Yeah,
Great.
good.
All right. All those in favor of this resolution, please say yes.
Yes.
All those opposed? All right.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Len.
Thank you.
Okay, and next up, we have an update on redevelopment of the downtown library. with Eli.
Okay, so just a few updates for you on what's coming next. The next big step is the approval of the final transfer agreement between the city and the library. That's something that once it's finalized, city council will vote on it and the library board will vote on it. And then at that point, we'll then have a close to execute the transaction at that point. We're hopeful that it will come before city council, maybe in December at the earliest. If not, should be in very early 2026. So, like we said, once we see that, it will come before both boards to be voted on. The next thing that we're working on is the revision of the 2019 building program that was developed by HBM Architects from Cleveland. We have hired them again to do the revision. It was very solid work and just needs a little bit of edits based on things that have changed. That's, for example, one of the goals of that building program is to bring the archives to the downtown library, right? That's no longer a goal of the project. We want to have a local history reading room in the new downtown library, but we're no longer looking for archival storage space because we've developed that elsewhere. That's an example of the sorts of things that will be changing. So they will work with staff, they will talk with trustees, and then ultimately they will present the revised building program to the Board of Trustees in public. And that will happen probably in the first quarter of 2026. It's not a major revision because the document is really starting from a pretty good place, but a lot of the document is about test fitting the program onto different sites because the site was unknown at that time. Now the site is known and it's bigger than anything we were considering at that time. So it changes a lot of the opportunities there and we want the document to reflect that. So that project will be proceeding and will be coming through the board. The other next piece is for us to choose a development consultant, and I'm just starting to talk to people to determine who our consultant who works on our side would be, with the goal of developing a request for proposals or similar document that would be issued again somewhere in the first quarter, ideally, of 2026. Everything goes great, and we have a functioning economy on which to build a building. We're hopeful to be opening it within 6 to 7 years. Okay, so it's a long project. Not anything that's going to be happening anytime soon, but it's something that we will keep updating everybody as we go. As we said, there's a new webpage, aadl.org/new downtown. It's got a note at the top that has all the next 17 steps associated with this project in a very coarse and basic description, and we will continue to fill that out, and as we have new documents and new things, and all of that will be posted to that page. So aadl.org/new downtown, and that is also, there's an email address, newdowntown@aadl.org, for people who want to send feedback as well. So that is all in place, and we are off and running, and we will be spending a lot of time on that project over the next several years. Any questions or comments on any of that? All right.
Great.
Thank you all very much.
Thanks, Eli. Moving on to new business. We have the resolution to adopt revised board bylaws, which are on page 59 to 70. And this is an item of both discussion and action. So I'm going to read the resolution. The board resolves as follows. 1, the board approves the revised bylaws as amended in Article 5, Section 5.4 to add communications from trustees to the regular agenda. 2, the bylaws shall be filed with the secretary of the board or authorized delegate with its minutes. 3, all resolutions and parts of resolutions that conflict with the provisions of this resolution are rescinded. Can I get a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. So, wait, what page did I say we're going to? 59. This is really, some board members had talked in the past about sort of having a regular opportunity for the board to address the public. This is something we had on Transportation Commission, City Council has it. It's just sort of like a nice opportunity in case there's something we want to be announcing to the public or talking about, to just build it into the agenda, that there's a chance for board members to speak directly to the public at meetings. And so this will build in a regular place on the agenda for that time. Let's see here. Eli, can you help me with like where in
Yes,
here?
page 64,
64.
section 5.4,
Okay,
the addition of communications from trustees between public comments and the financial report.
okay.
And that's the entirety of the changes to the bylaws.
So, so all we're doing here, this isn't, we've got some like bigger, I think, revisions and plans coming in the next few months, but this one was just a really simple one that we could add. We sort of tried it out at the last meeting and decided to keep it. And I think what we'll do is, I don't know if this would go in bylaws, this is more of like a practice thing, is like limit board member comments to 3 minutes, the same way we limit public comments to 3 minutes, so that we're not in a position where like we get to go on and the public doesn't. I don't think that needs to be in the
Yeah.
bylaws. So, but that's sort of the vision for the comments. Any thoughts, questions?
No, I think it's a good addition. Even though I declined to speak today, I immediately thought of two things I wish I had said. One of which is, if you haven't been to the Friends of the Ann Arbor District Library Bookshop at the ALF, I went for the first time. It's amazing.
So good.
They have more than just books. They have puzzles, games, sheet music. It's really great.
Summer game
So-
prizes from previous years.
Yeah, summer game prize. So many SG narwhal pants still remaining. So yeah, I think it's great that we're adding something to the bylaws that affords those types of comments.
Awesome. All right, other comments?
I just add that it does list, the agenda shall include the following items. So as we did this summer, when we made an adjustment to that order, because of summer game commenters, that is always something that the president or any trustee can do on the fly to rearrange the order of the agenda.
All right, thanks, Eli. That's not me, okay. All those in favor, oh wait, no, this is a roll call vote because it's the bylaws. Jodine, can you please take a roll call vote?
Trustee Campbell?
Yes.
Trustee Kleinman?
Yes.
Trustee Solomon?
Yes.
Trustee Soba?
Yes.
Trustee Trudeau?
Yes.
Thank you.
Great, thanks, everyone. Next one is an item of discussion. Do you want to even say what it is? I feel like I don't even
Sure.
want to spoil it.
Yes, so we're talking today about AADL and the Ann Arbor Observer, because I am delighted to announce that Ann Arbor District Library has reached a tentative agreement with the owners of the Ann Arbor Observer to acquire the Ann Arbor Observer. And that the library will be, pending the final purchase agreement, the library will be purchasing the Ann Arbor Observer. And the current owners are Patricia Garcia, who is the publisher, and John Hilton, who is the editor-in-chief. If you've looked in this month's Observer, John Hilton has written about the leadership transition that they are already underway. And it said in the October Observer that they hope to have an announcement soon about the ownership, and we are delighted to be in that position. So they will become a wholly owned subsidiary of AADL. And so while we will be the owners, they will not become library employees. That will be an independent organization, an independent business, likely an LLC. We're still working on that part with attorneys. That will be owned entirely by the library, and the library then will be in a position to ensure the continued existence of the Ann Arbor Observer as a free monthly paper publication. we've done a lot of work with the Observer over the years. We are the home of their online archive. We have a full run of the Observer in our collection, and this was just a really obvious fit. I think it's more important than ever for local news organizations to be moving into public hands. And I think that libraries as a sector have a large role to play in that. And I think it's a great opportunity for AADL to show leadership in that direction and do something that is really kind of very obvious in terms of a partnership perspective, right? We have a lot of great synergy between the work that they do and the work that we do. And there's so much opportunity for the continued existence to make sure that, unlike if they had been sold to private hands or, God forbid, to private equity, it could have been a very bad situation when the next change to the news business comes. And really, now we're in a position where the library understands there will be future changes to the news business. And our goal will be to keep the Observer functioning and in business through that time as a critical, vital asset for the community that really is unmatched in terms of its coverage about events, about new businesses, about issues of local interest, even just the advertising. It's the last place that still actually runs obituaries, right? So there's a lot of different components of the ways that the Ann Arbor Observer and Patricia Garcia and John Hilton have run it for all of these years. I think it was 34 years that the two of them have owned it, and they have brought it to this point where now its future is assured. And we will be issuing a press release later tonight and moving forward with that transaction with the goal of it executing right around the first of the year, which is around the time that their fiscal year ends. So once again, they will all stay employees of the Ann Arbor Observer, which will be owned by the library. At some point in the future, there's certainly opportunity to fold in operations, particularly in the presence of some other disrupting event to the news industry. But that's something to consider much later. For now, it's a transfer of ownership, and that's the only thing that's changing about the Observer. So we're very excited by this, delighted to be able to play a role in the continued, our mission statement says the AADL ensures public ownership of and access to information resources for the community. Mm-hmm. And I can't think of a better way for us to live up to that than with this transaction. So we're very excited by this opportunity, looking forward to many more years of partnership with the Observer, and onward. Any questions or feedback?
I'm super excited. I think this is a great fit. And like you pointed out, Eli, now more than ever, like we need to be bringing these, especially local reporting resources, into public hands so we can keep that, like the loss of already the news reporting in our communities around the country, I think is contributing to a lot of like fundamental tensions within our democracy. And so like that's really an important role for us to play as an institution. And also just note that this kind of relationship is not unprecedented or that unusual. Like public radio stations are frequently owned by other public entities as independent operations that are doing reporting. So this is not unprecedented, and it's something that happens. And I hope to see this kind of thing happening even more into the future. And with the Observer already being such an institution and a valuable resource, it makes complete and total sense just to pick it up. So,
I encourage folks to think about how fitting of an opportunity this is. The Ann Arbor Observer is one that prioritizes, you'll have to excuse my allergies. The Observer is a body that prioritizes local journalism, and the library is an institution that seeks to aim the advancement of an informed public. And so in all of this, I'm excited, our partners are excited, but also we have an opportunity now to have the Observer focused on these community-centered conversations. And even better, I think that we can just add this to a long list of the library responding in a way that is creative and expansive to community needs, both with our community partners, but also with our patrons. I think both will benefit very much from this.
I remember you talking about news in your interview for the director position. You did a presentation and talking about, the question was something like the annual report 10 years into the future, I think was the structure.
It's 5 years.
5
It's
years into the future.
2027 annual report.
Yeah, and so you're on track. But I remember that was one of the ones I was really excited about in that talk. And so I'm thrilled that we're doing this.
Like the other trustees, I'm really excited by this news. I think it's very much in AADL's DNA as an innovative and forward-thinking organization to be embarking on this partnership. I love the prospect of two, long-standing beloved organizations coming together, so it sounds great, and looking forward to hearing next steps.
The next thing that will happen is once we've finalized the agreement, that will be approved by the library board. So that agreement will come before the board probably at the December meeting for your approval. And with that approval and then the approval of the owners, there will be a close date, and then we'll move forward from there.
I'll add, I have a particular appreciation for the Observer as an entity that's supporting local art, I mean, they're commissioning cover art for all of their issues. It's fabulous. I would love to see that continue. So, and that in the same way, AADL is also a big supporter of the arts locally and commissions quite a bit of work. So maybe another point of fit.
Yes. All right, so that will be back on the agenda as old business, probably at the December meeting. We will continue to discuss it at both Finance and Executive Committee as needed, and we'll be bringing that back when it's ready to go. Thank you all very much.
Thanks, Eli. Next up, we have our second round of public comment. Jodine, do we have any public commenters?
Yes, Dave.
Good evening. Sorry I missed the first round. I just wanted mostly to express continual thanks for the library. Over the past 2 months, I have been utilizing the library quite a bit more than in the past few years. I think the last board meeting I said I was probably four events a year as far as like attendance, and I think I've probably done like 20 events in the past 2 months, something like that. I don't know. One of them, incidentally, was the Nerd Night that I hadn't gone to since pre-pandemic, and I just, with the mention of the Observer, I think Nerd Night is another cool thing that the library kind of hosts as like a providing info to the community thing. So I think it's really maybe coincidental for me, but cool to hear about the Observer falling under the umbrella now. So with that, I guess continual thanks. I'm also very excited, although it's going to be hard to wait, for the new downtown library, which will have housing above it. And I think if I get in that somehow, that would be the closest I'd ever be to living literally in the library. So kind of looking forward to that prospect, but it's years down the line. So thank you all, and keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you. Any other public comments?
No other public comments.
All right, then we are adjourned for tonight. Thanks, everyone.